sometimes when you're doing your live feeds or you're taking photos, there's always some geolocation behind it. So it's easy for somebody to track you based upon your latest photo, yeah, based upon your latest video that you're posting. So sometimes we can put ourselves in harm's way unknowingly. Probably AKA didn't know that he was putting his life in danger by just posting on his Instagram, on his social media pages. So sometimes when we are doing the close protection job, we advise the client so that they are able to be advised on time. Remember when Bill Gates came to Kenya, how many people knew? By the time you are knowing that Bill Gates is in Kenya, probably was already back. That is how you need to manage your information in your person of hierarchy.
Pale kwa detect.
Yeah.
Does this mean, I like that idea?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm assuming you can train on these things individually.
Yeah.
You can be an expert in detecting. Does that mean you don't have to train in combat? You don't have to do all those press-ups you do, 300 press-ups. In that, you can just be as an expert in detecting, in that you can smell danger. So as a close protection expert, your client just has you to tell him when to run.
Detect.
Now, when to run. Like, hey, hapa ni kubaya.
Yeah.
Like, can you do that? Like, can you specialize? Because mostly the combat comes in defend.
Yeah.
Can I specialize in detect?
So as I said earlier, they don't stand in isolation. All of these things are a cocktail of each other. So for instance, if you want to detect something, let's say like in homes, you want to detect a burglar who's coming in. So you probably put in motion detector or something, so that when you're walking and then the lights are on. So that is detection, to warn you that indeed there's somebody who is coming. So it is upon you now to incorporate other measures, probably to delay. That means probably you have a gate. So you delay that person. Yeah.
Delaying is not like locking the door with chairs and
No, you've already done that. That's why I talked about the three things. So I'm just trying to bring out that the fact that all these factors of managing a security function, they can't stand. They're not foolproof on their own. Yes.
Plus
so they're interdependent.
I think there are bare minimum requirements
Yes.
also to be a close protection officer.
They're called
Bare
baselines.
Yeah, you have to be physically fit, mentally, psychologically, emotionally. Some of us are like walking robots.
like there's no room for cowards. Like
No.
as long as it's all about safety in the end, and the cowards are the safest individuals in the world.
Of course. Now look at it this way. Even in defense that we were talking about last time, whether you know self-defense or not, ideally it's not to fight and stay there. We are teaching you how to fight and make your way out of that kind of scenario. That way you are able to secure your principal to safety. If you were to go into like now you want to thorough exchange with the opponent to show them that you are the man, then I'm afraid close protection is not for you. Maybe you end kwa movies. That's why you can see
Kingsley, you will never know how bad you are if you cannot stand a challenge. Right?
So it takes us back to why do we offer close protection? And we say that it is to meet the objective of the principal. Yeah. So if the principal wants to go somewhere, and that place that he wants to go, he knows very well that he's not wanted there, and yet he's still encouraging himself to go there regardless, you'll be able to advise and also create mitigation measures in case anything happens when he's there. It doesn't mean that when your principal tells you that I want to go to, like you said, to the northeastern, and you know very well where he's going, probably it's not that okay, then you'll refuse. No. What you'll do in essence is that you'll have an advanced team to go there and do some bit of reconnaissance, and just go through his daily program as if he were there in reality. After that, come up with see the likelihood of different events happening, and the kind of impact it would have in the principal's line.
But as a principal, sometimes I want to see some action. Like I want to see my money working. Like,
your money works in many ways, and trust me when I tell you this, you wouldn't want to be in such a situation. Most of those principals that will say, I want to see the action. I think at the end of the day, the success in close protection is to be able to have your client to go out there, do whatever they have to do, whether it's alone or with family, bring them back home safely without them actually having to encounter any situation. So you'd say, I think, utapenda tu hesabu kwa close protection, it's a probability
Sawa.
and chances of something happening.
Sawa. You are in close protection.
Yes.
There are other people offering close protection.
Yes.
Right? Isn't it a threat for people to know that a principal has been protected by highly trained individuals? In this way, when someone comes at you, they're not coming as a threat level of an ordinary person, anataka kuruka, sindio? They are all also equally trained as yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the possibility of handling a threat that is equally as good as yours?
That's now why you have to go back to the drawing board and have proper planning. That will determine the number of people you'll need for that particular squad, because being a one-man close protection officer is suicide.
Yeah.
You can always be stabbed from anywhere, pangas in a float from anywhere, resources in a float from anywhere, so that's not advisable. So once you've determined the number of people you'll need, of course the kind of vehicles will also be determined by the threat level. Right? So you'll have others driving even armored vehicles, for example. Now, once you have that, of course, we'll have to go down back to the routes we are going to select to use. Like, which routes are we going to use that will minimize the chances of having to engage or encounter a threat? And other than that, you also need things we call the routing rosettes, is where, how do I explain this? You can use, for example, like Google layers to flash out. You know, because once you're in something like, let's say you're using Bolt, you're using Google Maps, it's always easier to trace that. So you'll have to find ways to indicate that you can use different routes to get to your destination. But it's a combination of a lot of things to ensure that your client is safe. And should you be able to face that occurrence, then you must also have enough team to be able to counter the threat.
And how does someone, isn't it an interesting life for someone to live your life in such a way that if you want to buy a pack of fries, like unataka tu chipo, you have to get a routing rosette. Like you have to go to the drawing board.
Always.
Like unaenda kwa duka, but we have to come to the drawing board. Like how do you get to that place? Isn't that a very miserable lifestyle?
Not really. It's just what it's trying to say is just a matter of situational awareness. Yeah. So he was using the issue of maps, Google Maps, and tracing the routes. It is important for you to know where the principal has to go, depending on his or her objective. So that way, as I said, you'll be able to select the routes. You'll also know whether you'll need a decoy or not, depending on the level of risk threshold that you're looking at. Before you deploy or come up with everything of the plan, you do an analysis, like a risk analysis, where you look at the likelihood of of a threat happening and the kind of impact it would have to the client. Then the kind of controls that you put there have to be commensurate to the risk threshold. That means the controls being the measures that are already existing.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have to have a balance between having the controls that are commensurate to the kind of risk that you're protecting. If you overprotect, like I decide now, since I'm a close protection operative, I walk, just showing my gun or doing things or trying to muscle out people, then what will be the sign of me doing that action portraying to the principal? So it will be drawing attention, which we do not, you don't advise any close protection operative to do. In most cases, we like, having a subtle kind of approach, and at the end of the day, you won't even realize we are there. But in case there's anything that, a likelihood of a threat becoming an event, then now that is when now you'll see us spring into action.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in this training, all we talk about is threat from other people. Like, what is your level of training? Like, the principal has to, like, your career can be described as 1,000 ways not to die. So, as far as your principal is concerned, are there places that you also draw the line? Like, we agreed on human beings, not natural disasters. Like, when you're following principle and then an earthquake comes, then this was not in the contract. Is it comprehensive protection or just protection from other human beings?
So it depends, because at the end of the day, when you come into a contract with your client, you'll have to also specify as a close protection officer, where do my responsibilities start or begin, and where do my responsibilities end. That way you don't have problems of, should there be an issue where you know, it was out of control or uncontrollable for you, you end up being sued. We are all human beings. You know, you overlook something small, and because it was not there in your contract, then again, you end up having problems. So it's always good to have, like, this is where my obligation begins as a close protection officer. This is what I'm here to do, to this up to this point. Beyond there, it's, yeah, I'm not. You have to be like an insurance
So
company.
it's allowed. It's allowed. There are conversations you can have with the client, like, hey, I'm sorry, I've not studied elephants. The airlines.
Yeah, there are places where, you know, it trickles down to integrity. You know, if you know very well that your capacity or your, you know, mitigation measures that you have in place are superseded by the kind of threat level that you're going to try and mitigate, then you're honest to the principal and tell them that this is what I'm capable of. Beyond this, then I don't think I'll be able to handle it. Like earthquakes, how can you handle earthquakes? How can you handle floods? Things like that. So there are dynamics that are put in the risk matrix as one of the risk elements that are factored in when you're doing all these things, you know, related to close protection. So you factor them in as the risk that probably might happen and the likelihood of them happening as well.